hold on. Why do Asians eat dogs? Why do Asians eat dogs? Wait, are Asians the only human civilization on Earth that eat dogs? Let me check that out. Let's check that out. Are Asians the only people? What? Myth of Asians eating dogs and paying harm from stereotypes. So it's a myth? It's a stereotype? The myth is a myth? Honest opinion on different dog breeds. Bro, please get off my line. Disturbing me. The question of whether Asians eat dogs is a harmful stereotype that has persisted for far too long. No, not at all. No, not all Asians. So not all of them. Some of them. And the generalization of offensive and untrue is offensive and untrue. It's crucial to remember that Asia is a vast continent with diverse cultures. So it's not all Asians. Okay. Alright. According to ARIA, not all Asians. Let me see. Which tribes eat dogs then? Which Asians tribe eat dogs? Which Asian tribe? In Asia, dog meat consumption is prevalent in several countries, including China. China, the largest consumer of dog meat. Damn, bro, this like damn, just reading this shit like culture shock. You know what I'm saying, yeah, kind of makes me uneasy. It's kind of close to cannibalism. I don't know. Let me not judge people's culture, but you know what I'm saying. The fact that I don't do it, that's why I'm kind of squirming a little bit. Squirming is the word, right? I'm kind of uneasy. So.
Only in the past? Is it a delicacy or something when people didn't have enough protein? Or maybe it's all just a racist stereotype.
People think they're so clever, like they're the first person to ever ask me this question. Do you eat dog?
This is the kind of thing I think about when I can't sleep at 3 a.m. So here we are.
What?
I'm Ken LaCourte. I research questions like this, not to mock people or feel superior, but to really dig into the truth and give you the answers as straightforward as I can. How does our world work? I'll first explain what I learned about where the world stands today on eating dogs. Then, why Asia? I mean, it's a big world with a lot of hungry people, but why did this become something associated with Asians? And finally, we'll look at pet or protein, why societies are cool with chowing down on some animals, but not others. So to most Americans, eating
So I was like, yo, it's closer to cannibalism if you ask me.
dogs is a pretty squeamish thing to think about. But maybe a better question is, why don't we eat dogs? The cuteness factor? We eat lambs and cows, which are pretty darn cute.
That actually is a good question.
Because they're smart? I mean, people think pigs are smarter than dogs, but bacon is almost a national meat. We don't eat dogs not because it's wrong in some objective sense, but because somewhere along the way, our culture drew a big, bright moral line. Other cultures drew that line somewhere differently, and we'll start in Asia, where the stereotype really lives. So, yes, dog and cat meat is still eaten in parts of Asia, but it's not super common. South Korea has long been associated with dog meat stew, and in a recent poll, about 8% of people there said they'd eaten dog in the past year. That's down from 27% in 2015. Younger generations don't eat dog meat nearly as often, and they view it much less favorably than older South Koreans do. Vietnam is thought to have the world's...
So it's a traditional thing. It's like it's a generational thing. Like as in now, it's, you know what I'm saying? They're waning off of it. Like as generations go.
second highest consumption of dog meat, and they eat about 5 million dogs a year. but public opinion there too is moving away from it, and most Vietnamese support a ban on the dog and cat meat trade. China remains the world's largest consumer of dog meat, with an estimated 10 to 20 million dogs killed for food each year. It's mainly concentrated in their rural areas. China also hosts the Yulin Dog Meat Festival around the summer solstice each year. It's not an ancient traditional festival, but started in 2009 by dog meat traders to boost sales. But both attendance and dog meat sales throughout the country have gone down in the last few years, and activists are also getting involved. And just like other Asian countries, there's a generational divide, with younger Chinese overwhelmingly opposing eating dogs. And the shift isn't just cultural, it's starting to be legal as well. In 2020, Shenzhen became the first city in mainland China to ban the sale and consumption of dog and cat meat. Other cities followed. In South Korea, a 2024 law banned dog meat entirely, with a 3-year grace period to phase out the industry. So look, as always, I try to do my best to do everything right here, but if I make a substantive mistake, I'll correct it down below. And if you find this video interesting, there may be a button somewhere you can press to see more of these. Now, let's look at some of the wet markets, the open-air, often chaotic food markets that we became familiar with during COVID. So, wet market doesn't mean an exotic animal death pit. It just refers to markets selling fresh produce, meat and fish, and sometimes live animals. While most sell stuff like bok choy and chicken feet, a handful of trafficked and wildlife, and in some cases, dogs and cats. That imagery of dogs in wire cages, bats in soup, and frogs hopping over fish tanks, that hit the Western internet a little bit like a horror show during the early pandemic. And for many people, it reinforced pre-existing stereotypes.
Frogs,
Let's zoom out beyond
a lot of them
Asia.
in one spot.
Unlike some Asian countries, it's actually legal to eat dogs in Switzerland. Activists said in 2014 that about 3% of Swiss people had eaten dog or cat
Never do that shit again. Elephants in rooms.
meat, although they do have a bit of an agenda on that. And it's still a practice in some small rural areas where Christmas cat stew is part of some traditional menus. In parts of Nigeria, dog meat is sold openly in markets considered an aphrodisiac or medicinal food, but we don't often hear about that. Cameroon, Ghana, and other African countries do the same. And historically, some indigenous peoples in Mexico ate dog meat, particularly this guy, a Mexican hairless dog. So why Asia? If people are eating dogs and cats in other places, why did the whole Asians eat dogs stereotype stick? Part of it is historical. In ancient China, we know they ate dog meat for thousands of years. Dogs were raised not just for companionship or guarding, but also as livestock. In Korea, dog meat soup is believed to boost stamina and masculinity, especially during hot summer months. And in Vietnam, some still believe eating dog meat at the end of the Lunar New Year brings good luck and wards off bad spirits. So there's history there. But ancient cultures weren't the only ones. They say Romans did it, Polynesians did too, and Aztecs bred dogs for food as well. So again, why Asia? Well, it seems like timing mattered. American exposure to Asian food came largely through war, not exactly a time for cultural nuance and understanding. During World War II, the Korean War, and especially the Vietnam War, American soldiers stationed overseas saw unfamiliar foods and they brought back stories. Some were real, others exaggerated. But when you're dehumanizing an enemy, anything goes, including mocking what they eat. Visibility also played a role. Unlike the wrapped ground beef in Western supermarkets, some traditional Asian markets displayed live animals for sale. Dogs in cages, cats in baskets, frogs in tanks, and that's jarring to outside eyes. Once a stereotype like that becomes popular, it can be shorthand for weird or uncivilized. The image has legs, literally. So overall, the stereotype came from truth, war, media, and a perception.
Fuck frogs. Frogs is one of the worst things ever fucking created. I swear to God. I don't mean to cuss so. Damn. Why were frogs created? You know when you start asking yourself like, why do these motherfuckers exist? Yes, I don't get it. I don't get it.
Between us and them, and often to look down on people who do things differently. In truth, most of us don't think too hard about why we eat the animals we do. Most Americans grew up eating chicken, pork, beef.
That's what I'm thinking all the time. I'm gonna break it down at the end of the video.
Maybe some fish sticks. And that's just what's for dinner. But the second someone mentions dog food, we cringe. But disgust isn't a fact, it's a feeling. Like most feelings, it's a product of who raised you. where you live, and what your culture takes as normal. So certainly one important factor is that the closer an animal is to our daily lives,
That's what I'm
the harder it
saying.
is to see as food. We've domesticated our dogs, cats, and other animals. We take care of them. We give them names. And to many people, they're not just animals, they're family. Cows and chickens don't live in our houses, but there's still a wide variability of how we view animals regardless of where they live. I mentioned earlier that pigs are smart. They can play
What the hell?
video games, recognize their names, form emotional bonds, just like dogs. But in the US, the only food more American than hamburgers is bacon. And we eat about 75 million pigs every year. And bunnies, they're so adorable that they're basically the universal mascot for cuteness. But they're on the menus in some US restaurants, and they're even more popular in parts of France, Italy, and China. Horses aren't eaten in the US,
Horse?
but in parts of France, Belgium, Italy, and Japan, horse meat is available raw, seared, or even sausages. An American might be bothered by that, but most of us grab a burger, wear leather shoes, or sit on a leather sofa without a second thought. And in India,
What the fuck? That's so crazy, actually.
cows are holy. Harming one isn't
Yes, that's what I wanted to break down and then at the end of the video, right? Is the fact that dog, bro, come on, bro. Yeah, nah, he just, it's like, bro, come on, though. Damn. But you know what I'm saying? You get born, and this is how people behave, dog, and that's just what it is, depending on which part of the world you were born, right? Let's say you were born in India, where the cow is worshipped and things like this, right? You were born there. There's a whole lot of different variations of cows, and you know what I'm saying? Probably depending on what tribe, maybe. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to make sense of some shit. You know what I'm saying? You will feel the same way about cows. You know, like how Americans feel about dogs. You feel me? Where it's like, yo, don't touch that shit. Maybe that's how Indians feel about cows. So you don't just eat them. Feel me? I don't know about totally not eating them, but maybe they, like some parts of India, they don't even touch the cows. Because I know, yeah, cows are very sacred to them. You know what I'm saying? And okay, so I guess it is, you know, the closer something is to your heart. You feel me? Obviously, you won't see it as food. Okay, it does make sense. So, let's say if you watching right now were born in China, chances are then you would not see it as weird, right? Eating a dog, as how somebody, you know what I'm saying, in America would try even imagine it. It would weird them out. Feel what I'm saying? It's weirding me out. Feel what I'm saying? It's fucking interesting. But like, if like me right now where I'm at, I look at a cow and I think about, like, you know what I'm saying, beef burger. Shit, I'm actually thinking of, you know what I'm saying, whipping one up right now. Shit, get a couple patties ready. You know what I'm saying, 2 patties ready for that double experience. You feel me? Crispy. You know what I'm saying? Lettuce type situation. I eat my shit with lettuce, man. Some bacon there. Beef bacon burger, cheese. Wow. Sounds attractive. Sounds tantalizing. But then now, think of dog patty. Ugh, bro. It's like mouth kind of gagging, like just thinking about that shit. I don't know if gagging is the right word, but I got this like this kind of a feeling in my this area right here, the neck. I said feel
just offensive, it's criminal in many states. In fact,
pause. I just realized how that might have sounded. Extra pause on that. Sorry.
40% of Indians are vegetarians. To them, all of these foods are off limits. So it's not about logic. It's about who we are and who we're not. And food is one of the oldest tribal markers we have. Paul Rosen, a psychologist who spent decades studying disgust, says that disgust protects the soul, not the body. It's not just about staying healthy, it's about staying morally or even spiritually pure. Across much of the Middle East and Jewish communities around the world, pork is strictly forbidden. Islam and Judaism both consider pigs unclean, and that shaped entire cuisines for thousands of years. In Hinduism, it's beef that's off limits. Buddhists often promote vegetarianism, especially among monks, But in practice, especially in places like China or Thailand, most still eat meat because the faith says it's more important not to kill them than not to eat. So if someone else does the slaughtering, the moral burden is lifted. My point is to show how deeply food choices are tied to identity, morality, and culture. What we eat shows our loyalty, belonging, and in some cases, righteousness. And when somebody eats something outside of our food code, especially something we see as cuddly, sacred, or symbolic of a home, it doesn't just gross us out, it makes them feel foreign. So it seems these food preferences aren't just about food, but about how we see ourselves and others, and how we saw them in the past. Look, another thing that affects how we see ourselves is what we call ourselves. And if you've been around long at all, you've noticed that many groups and ethnicities rename themselves quite frequently. And then the old names are often considered insults. Colored person and Negro used to be terms of respect for Black Americans, but not anymore. And is it Black or African American? This is one of my very favorite videos because I learned a lot about ecology.
It's neighbor now.
But the actual mechanism of how those changes occur and when they fail. I learned a whole lot in producing it, and I think you will too. Hey, thanks for watching.
Hey.
I hope this all was worth your time.
Worth my time. Thank you.
There's something curious about...
Fuck with you, fuck with you, fuck with you. Elephants in Rooms. That's an interesting name, I won't lie. Elephants in Rooms. Interesting channel name.
There's something curious about Scotland when seen from a...
Wait, what are we looking at? Why there is a straight gap in the middle of Scotland? Bro, who gives a fuck about this shit? You know what I'm saying? But, yeah, let's see it.
Above. An almost
I
perfectly
give a fuck. I guess
straight line cuts right across the country from coast to coast. You might have never noticed, but that giant scar has existed for hundreds of millions of years. And right along its path lies one of Earth's biggest mysteries, the Loch Ness Monster. Meet the Great Glen Fault. Just like other major fault zones around the world, it was born because of the movement of Earth's tectonic plates. So let's go back in time, like 430 million years ago. At that point, a massive geological drama was going on called the Caledonian Orogeny. Now, orogeny is just a fancy scientific word for...
Fuck, Brightside, bro. This sounds like some geeky shit, bro. Damn, I didn't think you'd get this geeky, bro. Orogeny.